Origins of Socialist Thought, Presentation 7, Part B, in the series on the origin, evolution, and effects of socialism. The term socialism began appearing in print in the late 1820s and early 1830s in British and French publications. The ideology evolved from a combination of factors including the influence of social and economic theorists, the societal changes induced by the Industrial Revolution, and the implications of the French Revolution on European politics. The idea of improving human nature and creating a new and better society was influenced by several 18th and 19th century social and economic theorists. William Godwin was an English journalist, political philosopher, and novelist. He published the book An Inquiry Concerning Political Justice in 1793. Contrary to Adam Smith's recognition that individual incentives provided by the market could coordinate the activity of millions of people, each seeking his own interest, in such a way as to make everyone better off, Godwin postulated that man's understanding and disposition were capable of intentionally creating social benefits without the need for economic rewards. Godwin regarded the intention to benefit others as being the essence of virtue. His vision of human nature was one in which man was capable of directly feeling other people's needs as more important than his own. He felt that the egocentric behavior of man is not a permanent feature of human nature. It can be changed or perfected. Godwin referred to men as the hereafter may be made. Furthermore, according to Godwin, the social and economic order that evolved over tens of thousands of years of human interaction was necessarily inferior to what could be deliberately constructed or perfected by the general power of the cultivated mind during this new age of reason. Godwin proposed an elitist system of guiding the masses for their own good by intellectuals according to their vision of the way society ought to be. Jeremy Bentham was an English jurist, philosopher, and legal and social reformer. He was a political radical and best known for his advocacy of utilitarianism and his opposition to the ideas of natural law and natural rights, calling them nonsense upon stilts. He also influenced the development of welfarism. Bentham proposed many legal and social reforms and expounded on an underlying moral principle on which they should be based. His philosophy, utilitarianism, argued that the right act or policy was one that would cause the greatest good for the greatest number of people, or the principle of utility. Individual liberty was to be subordinate to the greatest good. Positivist law resulted from the combination of Bentham's rejection of natural law and his conviction that government should take positive steps to maximize the happiness of society. By calling for positive legal and governmental steps to improve society, he motivated many of the reformers that followed. Bentham is considered by many as the founder of modern liberalism. Jean-Jacques Rousseau is considered by many to be the father of modern radical thought. Influenced by Plato, Rousseau believed that private property encouraged greed and selfishness. People became prisoners of either their own greed or that of their rulers. Hence his idea that man is born free and everywhere he is in chains. Rousseau stated that people must build a new community structured so their better impulses could dominate. He advocated for the formation of a new society to which people would surrender themselves completely. By giving up their rights and powers to the group, they would create a new entity that would become an organism in which each individual contributed to the whole. By giving up their rights and powers to the group, people would gain a new kind of equality and power. Rousseau suggested that the new society would be directed by the general will. People who refused to comply with the general will could be forced to comply. Rousseau thought that private property could be used to exploit people because it was a source of inequality among individuals. It therefore should be distributed equally among individuals in the state. Rousseau favored a direct form of democracy in which the citizens vote on the laws themselves instead of sending representatives to the legislature. Rousseau's ideas greatly influenced the proponents of the French Revolution, as well as Karl Marx. The French Revolution and Reign of Terror were rooted in the popular hatred of the oppressive monarchy. The masses of poor in Paris united under the slogan, liberty, equality, and fraternity. In contrast to the American Revolution, it grew into a massive challenge against all forms of authority, including lords, priests, and factory owners, calling for a liberty that included the right for all to equally share in the wealth of society. David Ricardo was a British economist. His labor theory of value and iron law of subsistence wages, which modern economics has since refuted, went on to influence the future proponents of socialism, including Karl Marx, who considered Ricardo his intellectual mentor. In his labor theory of value, Ricardo postulated that the value of an object is solely a result of the labor expended to produce it. In his iron law of subsistence wages, he postulated that in the long run, wages for workers would always tend toward a bare minimum wage necessary for survival. He stated that every increase in investment requires more labor, and hence the demand for labor increases, which leads to a rise in wages. When laborers have more wages than they need to sustain themselves and their family, they have more children. In the long run, this results in an oversupply of labor, which in turn causes wages to fall back to the minimum subsistence level. Furthermore, Ricardo developed a class conflict model of the economy distinct from Adam Smith's. For Ricardo, the focal point is how the fruits of the economy, the pie, should be divided among workers, landlords, and capitalists. In this model, the amount of pie is fixed, so if the landlords and capitalists get more of the pie, then the workers get less. Ricardo's class conflict model contrasted with Adam Smith's harmony of interest model, where the focal point is making the economy grow to make the pie bigger. In Smith's model, capitalists work together with the workers and landlords to produce goods and services throughout the production process in such a way that there need not be a conflict of interests. If the pie gets bigger, everyone, the workers, the capitalists, and the landlords, all get more. Modern economics illuminate the flaws in Ricardo's theories. Specifically, as technological advances made workers more productive, their wages rose as the companies they worked for became more productive. The pie did in fact get bigger as production and economies grew. Furthermore, in these more developed countries, birth rates declined with advances in medical technology and nutrition that promoted marked decreases in infant mortality. Having numerous children to replace those lost to childhood death was no longer necessary. With regard to the idea that the value of an object is solely the result of the labor expended to produce it, modern economics and common sense demonstrate clearly that the value is not inherent in objects, but it is a product of many different consumer judgments. Value depends upon people's desires. The more they esteem an object and are willing to trade for it, the more it is worth. The relative supply of an object will also affect its value. An ideology based on incorrect assumptions and disproven theories. Though the insights refuting Ricardo's ideas would not be recognized for another generation, Marx and the Socialists picked up on Ricardo's attacks on the landlords and capitalists and ran with them. Marx also ran with Ricardo's labor theory of value, insisting that all profits are the rightful earnings of the workers. On the basis of this theory, Marx would call for the elimination of profits and for workers to seize factories and overthrow the quote-unquote tyranny of capitalism. Key points for Section 7b on the origins of socialist thought. Early socialist thought included the notion that human nature could be perfected. Early socialist thought proposed the common good that superseded individual priorities and preferences. Early socialist thought also proposed that the government should be empowered in the pursuit of the common good. Rousseau advocated the formation of a new society to which people would surrender their rights and powers to the group. By giving up their rights and powers to the group, people would gain a new kind of equality and power. The collective is more important than the individual. Key points continued. Early socialist thought also believed that private property could be used to exploit people because it was a source of inequality among individuals. It therefore should be distributed equally among all individuals in the state. Early socialist economic thought has been shown to be based on incorrect assumptions and disproven theories.